Good morning, everyone. Boker Tov and Shanah Tovah. Tonight we begin the new year of 5,783. You know, there's an expression, a quote that people say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And not only would Judaism not agree with that, but Judaism would say just the opposite. Judaism would say the road to heaven is paved with good intentions. Tonight we begin Rosh Hashanah, which is also known as the Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, the 10 days of repentance, from Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur. And our rabbis tell us something very interesting about the power of repentance. The Talmud says, what happens if a man goes over to a woman and proposes marriage to her, and he says, please be my wife on the condition that I'm a wealthy man. And she accepts his marriage proposal. And then they discover that his bank account is overdrawn. He's a pauper. So obviously it's not a marriage. The marriage was never a marriage because it was on the condition that he was wealthy, and it turns out he's poor. But then the Talmud says, what happens if a man goes to a woman and says, please be my wife, and proposes marriage, gives her a ring, on the condition that I'm a tzaddik gamur, that I'm a righteous person. And then she accepts it, because of course she wants to be married to a righteous person, a tzaddik. And then they look into him and they see he's a criminal, he has a rap sheet, he's a terrible person. He's far from a tzaddik. He's the opposite. He's a rasha, he's a wicked person. So the question is, in the case of the man who proposed on the condition that she doesn't need a divorce bill, she doesn't need a get because it was never a marriage. But in this case, if she doesn't want to live with him, she would need a get, she would need a divorce bill. Why? After all, he said on the condition that I'm righteous, and it turns out he's wicked. Says the Talmud, because maybe right before he gave her the ring and proposed to her, he had a hirur tshuva, a thought of repentance. He had a sincere thought that he wants to change his life and change his ways and become a perfectly righteous person. And according to Jewish law, the minute you have that thought, that good intention, it transforms you from being a wicked person to being a righteous person. And therefore Judaism would say, the road to heaven, not the road to hell, is paved with good intentions. And so as we embark on the new year, starting tonight, the first step in the journey for a good year is good thoughts, good intentions. We may say, well, how am I going to change? Just start with the positive thinking. I want to be a better person this year. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to strive to achieve greatness this year. I'm going to give up my bad habits this year. And just that thought is already a mitzvah. It's already a first step in the process. There's a story told about a rabbi. His name is Rabbi Chaim Weintraub. He lives in Israel in Kiryat Shmuel. And his work is devoted to teens at risk. Orthodox kids who got involved in different substances and troubles. And he works with these kids who are no longer religious. And he had a 3-year-old son who just had his haircut, his first haircut, his upsharnish. And just a few days after his haircut, this boy was in school, in the gan, in the kindergarten, in the play, in the children's nursery. And he told his teacher he's not feeling good, his head hurts. So the teacher said, go lay down on the cot. He went to lay down on the cot. She checked on him a half hour later, and tragically, this little 3-year-old boy had an aneurysm and he passed away. And the family was obviously plunged into tremendous grief over the loss of their 3-year-old beautiful son. Well, during the Shiva, family and friends were coming to comfort them. And in walked 3 teenagers who were formerly religious boys. But now they were already with tattoos and earrings and ponytails and piercings, and they were completely off the path of observance. And they loved this rabbi because he always reached out to them with love, and they embraced him and they cried with him over his terrible loss. And as they were about to leave, these 8 boys turned to the rabbi and they said to Rabbi Weintraub, you know, we were thinking what we can do in the merit of your son for his soul. And we decided that this Shabbat, we're all going to keep Shabbat in his memory, in his honor for his soul. And the rabbi thanked them and hugged them and escorted them out the door. When they left, one of the other rabbis in the room turned to him and said, you know, I was quite disappointed. I thought they were going to say they're going to start keeping Shabbos permanently, indefinitely, for the rest of their lives in honor of your son. When they said they're going to do it for one Shabbat, what's the point? Next week they're going to go back to not keeping Shabbat. And this Rabbi Chaim Weintraub turned to this other rabbi and says, let me ask you a question. He said, what would I give to have my little 3-year-old son back with me for one more Shabbat? What would I have to be able to have him on my lap one more time on Friday night to sing Shabbat melodies? What would I give to be able to tuck him into bed one more time and say Shema with him? What would I give to give him one more kiss? What would I give to walk to shul with him Shabbos one more time with his little angelic hand in my hand? What would I give to be able to play ball with him one more time in the yard? He said I would give everything. I would sell my house. I'd give up all my assets to have one more Shabbat with my son. And he turned to this rabbi and said, these boys haven't been in shul for many years on Shabbat. God is going to have his children back one more Shabbat. Do you know what that means? When we talk about a father or a mother, a parent, every act, every good deed, every moment is priceless. It's like the crown jewels of the queen. There's no price on it. It has infinite value to God. And therefore, it's not a question of all or nothing. It's not like either I'm going to be perfect or I'm not going to do anything. God says it's a new year. Spend a little bit more time with me. Say an extra prayer. Do another good deed. Even if you only do something very small. Even if you just have one positive intention, one good thought for the new year. That in itself is priceless and precious to God. And God says that if you want to make heaven on earth, the road to heaven is paved with good intentions, which will be followed by good deeds. Wishing everybody from Dini and myself and the Palm Beach Synagogue, we wish all of you a happy, healthy, sweet new year. And may all your prayers this Rosh Hashanah be answered. Shanah Tovah, a good, healthy, sweet new year.